Hey everyone, this is Chef. Welcome back to Planet Zoo. We are in Empirical Sahara, our arid African desert themed zoo. And we are continuing to work through our arid Sahara or our arid savanna trails section of the zoo. So we opened this section up 2 episodes ago with some basic planning. Last time we took a crack at this dominant gazelle habitat. We also fixed some pressing budget issues. And while we were off camera, I went ahead and finished this little trail fence as well, and I think it's turned out really, really nice. We can't exactly tell how this section of the zoo is going to shape up yet because there's some detailing we need to do through here. This is going to be penguins eventually, but I really like so far how open and airy and spacious this kind of layout that we've got going on so far is making this section of the zoo feel. We are still a little pinched on budget. We're down to $800, $900-ish, but we are mostly turning a profit every year if we ignore the fact that we're doing a lot of construction. So for this episode, we're probably going to need to work on another small exhibit. It's probably going to be the African Crested Porcupine, and hopefully by the end of next year, some of our big loans will be paid off. We still have both of these ticking down, and then the budget will start to stabilize a bit. But that said, since we're only at 880 right now, we are going to have to take out another small loan so that we can do some building this episode. So let's take out our last loan, give ourselves a little bit of a cash infusion, and start working on this corner of the zoo for our African crested porcupines. So there's two things that I want to change up about this area. The first thing is I really don't like this staff path. I don't like that it has to go elevated a bit to get over the river and the weird terrain that's over here. So we're just going to get rid of that, and we are going to move the staff entrance for this exhibit over to the other side of the habitat. So we're going to get rid of this gate here. You're gone. We're going to put in a new gate. Over here-ish, I'm actually going to move some of this stuff in a little bit. Move all of this in. And then we'll start shifting this barrier around a little bit. We can trim all of this off. And then we can go ahead and we can put this in. Take me up to 10. Give me something like that. And then we'll have a staff entrance like over here. Does that give me enough space to work with? It should, yeah. And then give me staff path. Take me down to 4 meter, get rid of that curb. We'll just slowly sweep it over to the main path over here. I would like you to join at a T, if you could. Yeah, something like that looks great. And then we can migrate these bins over a little bit, but we're probably going to move where those are at as well. Right there. For now, is totally fine. So we need to rename this because we got rid of the gate. This is going to be African Crested Porcupines. And then I also think we need to reset what animal it's for. Yeah, because we temporarily destroyed the exhibit itself. So these are all going to be for African Crested Porcupines. You're going to be for African Crested Porcupines. As well as you. And as well as you. And you and you. Although we're going to have to switch up the way your audio works because you are now much closer to the other boards. Going to our heat maps for education coverage. Honestly, just get rid of this one. So that's the first thing to solve, is we want a better way into this exhibit. The second thing that we need to solve is where we actually want guests to look into the exhibit. This is a very crowded section of the zoo through here. We have viewing potentially into ostriches, we have viewing into elephants, we have viewing into porcupines. If we're not careful about guest sightlines, we are going to have a massive crowd of guests through this section of the zoo that is going to clog up our entire path network. So we need to figure out where we want people to look into ostriches, where we want people to look into elephants, and where we want people to look into porcupines while we're thinking about developing this section of the zoo out. We also know that over here, we probably don't want people looking into ostriches from here because this is meant to be the path through the Egyptian fruit bat. So this is likely to be a solid wall. And just so that I remember, I'm going to change it to a solid wall now. So that we don't want guest visibility through there. I'm okay with having this be guest visible through that spot specifically. And then up through here, I would like that again to be not visible. So we're going to have a small ostrich viewing gallery here. Over on the other side, we're going to have probably ostrich viewing gallery here where people can stop and look. And then also all the way along here because we're not going to have anything else that it's butting up against. This is all just going to be scenery eventually when we finally work on penguins. So that's how ostrich visibility is going to shake out. In terms of porcupine visibility, I think we say something like this. We have all be not visible. We definitely want this to be visible. And then we may just leave this whole section of elephant not visible. So this whole part here is viewing gallery for porcupine. And then we can set up some really nice backdrop. So you're looking through here, and then you also can see a little bit of the river, and you can also see like a little bit of plants and rockwork leading up into the dunes. But that should minimize the amount of congestion that we have through here. We might even want to pull this a little further and say that's also not visible. So we could have like a little bit of rockwork at this corner. We could have some sunshades hanging off of it. That would give guests a nice place to kind of get out of the heat a little bit. Maybe sit down on a couple of benches. I think that should work fairly well. So with that initial planning out of the way, let's actually figure out kind of thematically how we want the porcupine exhibit to work. First of all, your space. First of all, we need to add these back into work groups before I do anything else. This is Dry Savanna Guest Services. Oh, it already includes the talk point. That's great. So just animal care then. This is supposed to be in Dry Savanna Trails. So, porcupines, I think, really like to dig. You're not escaped, by the way. You're in the right exhibit. You'll figure it out eventually. Given that they like to dig, and given that we want a very kind of transparent back wall here, maybe that's mixed up with like some foliage and a little bit of chain link, let's build ourselves a really simple fence that we can use for this exhibit. We want to start with a concrete base. Maybe just like a simple wall panel like this. On top of that, we can grab some wooden posts, and we want it to look like sort of similar to what we've got over here, but not exactly the same. I'm pretty sure that's just our classic beam painted. But I want to make sure that it sits entirely inside the concrete. Painted beam square. Yeah, it'll sit inside there just fine. So we'll turn our angle snap on. Give you a quick rotate. Push you... I guess you should come like halfway out of the concrete, like so. We know that this fence is how tall the fence needs to be. Pretty sure anyway. How tall does your fence need to be? Over 3 feet? That's only 1 meter. This is 2 meter? We could make this quite a bit shorter. Could do something like that. And then we also know that we're going to want some mesh in here. That's probably a little bigger than what we need, but it might work. Yeah, actually that'll work great. We'll bring you down to about here, let's say. And then we'll add a little bit of trim. So painted round. We'll go for thin here. And then we're going to rotate you on top. You're going to sit right here and you're going to cover the top of that fence. And then you're going to sit right here and you're going to make it look like that's where the fence joins into the concrete. These we want to look like they're metal. So let's give them a nice little gray color. Maybe a little darker so it contrasts against the concrete. And then maybe make the concrete a bit lighter. Keep giving it this kind of limestone color that we have elsewhere in the zoo. And then this post, this can be a more normal wood color. So it'll look something like that. Should make for a pretty good, simple fence that doesn't make it feel too much like a cage. Let's make sure we've selected all of these. There we go. Merge these into a group. Then if we duplicate you, how do you look? Pretty good, I would say. The concrete at the bottom is a little thick. We could go with like a breeze block if we wanted something a little thinner, but I think I'm okay with this exhibit just being a little sturdy. We want it to look like we've taken precautions that are going to keep them from being able to just dig their way out. And then can I have a 1 meter anything? Just to check height against, that is more than 1 meter. So this fence should be perfectly suitable for this exhibit. Let's go ahead and grab you, move you around, get you set up right about here, and we can turn angle snap off for this. We're just going to join you up to where the barrier is. So we know we want it to start about here, and then also let's push it in a little bit, just so that we can leave ourselves a little bit of extra room for like a standoff. Then, after that, we can convert all this to null barrier. So we'll go all the way around to about here, change it to null, leave this wood in place because this is just my reminder for where we need to actually block guest visibility. And then grab this fence and just start chaining it around. Unfortunately, we live in a world where the walls have decided to stay consistent when we move them. It doesn't look like they're sliding off of each other. Weird angles or anything like that. So we're going to drag you all the way around. We do want to do this relatively cheaply so that we can actually unpause the simulation because we replaced everything with null barriers. We want to start making money again. But this is only a $60 wall segment, which is not too bad in the grand scheme of things. I'm just going to make sure that this is roughly aligned to the path. We can come in and actually move where the habitat boundary is later on. Nice sharp corner here. We can turn barriers off. We'll fit the barriers to the wall later. For now, we'll just freehand this. I don't think that the crested porcupine is particularly demanding about space. So we should be able to cut into their current exhibit pretty significantly without worrying about how they're going to feel about it later. Something like that. A little bit of this. Guess we should look at the joins on the back if we're going to start turning our corner in the other direction. And then this is going to be the last one at this corner. Over here by the animal talk point. The fence, I think, can be a little closer. That shouldn't be too bad. This join is going to be messy. We'll have to move some of the blocks around. So you, group edit, duplicate you specifically, pull it all the way past. You, group edit, duplicate you, move you right to that corner, and then you, move you back until you're flush of that corner. There we go. And then duplicate you, and just keep sliding you along. At this point, I don't actually remember where the exhibit goes, so let's turn our barriers back on. We can recoup a little bit of space in the back if we really need it. We'll do one more turn. Get these lined up. Let's say like that. No, a little more than that. About like that. Looks good. Then you don't actually have to fiddle with the blocks at all. So there you go. Looks a little industrial, a little robust, but most guests should be able to see right over the top of it as long as they're close. And then do we want to change it up in the back? I feel like I do want to change it up in the back a little bit. I really like the fence that we have over here, and I might borrow it. I like that you can kind of see through it. Wow, frames are bad over here. I like that you can kind of see through it. It looks very light. It looks like it was constructed very cheaply. Ooh, don't move. Duplicate. Yeah. And so at some point against this back wall, we can transition to this, although it doesn't need to be quite so tall. You can bring it down to about here. That's $210. I think we can still afford it. We should be all right. Slide this piece over here for a nice join. And then delete this piece. And then we can duplicate this thing along. And you don't want to cooperate, but that's okay. Actually, this thing needs to move. No, you're fine. Why don't you line up the way that I want you to line up then? Oh, I don't really like that at all. Oh, that's fine. How does this wall work back here? It looks so much more bulky when it's in like this. No, that's the way it's supposed to look. Well, I'll keep running with it. I mean, we're going to be turning this thing around a lot of weird corners, so the fact that it's not perfectly sliding around when we duplicate and move is okay. I might even make larger sections of it as soon as I grab 2 straight pieces. Maybe something like that. And then select this, but not that. Merge you into a group. Oh, and then you cooperate. What a bounty. Okay. We want this to look a little uneven. It doesn't need to be a perfect line. You're going to come in like this. A little bit like this. Rapidly eating through our money. I'm just watching the budget dip. There's a lot to go to. Okay. I think we can make it. Let's shoot a little past here. And then we can pull it back in. Let's clean this joint up quick. You just need to come out a little bit. And then you can get sent back a little bit. Give it a nice flush corner. And then we'll go ahead and... Ooh, I want you to stay at the same height. Just duplicate is not going to work there. And then we'll start to make up some of the difference in spacing here by pulling it back towards the gate. It looks a little bulky from the back because of these big blocks of brown concrete, but we can touch that up a bit. And then grab me a single wall piece. You can come over here. And then we're going to slide around the gate itself to get the gate to go where we want it to go. So right about there. And then we'll go into this fence. We'll edit you. Put this board over specifically to get it to be flush with the gate. We even get the hinges. That's wonderful. And then the rest of this is probably going to be rock. So the question is, do I like that? It's a lot taller than I want it to be, just looking at it, but that's an easy fix. It means that we're going to abandon the fact that it's concrete on the bottom. Maybe we can just go in and add that later. We can pull it down to something like this. That makes it look much less imposing. It also means there's a lot of money wasted underground, but let's not worry about that. And then we'll grab you. We'll just slide you over here. And you will be the second half of the gate. So how are we looking? We're at $1,100. This barrier needs to move ever so slightly. And then a lot of these need to shift around. Take me down to 4 meters. We'll just redraw in where the barrier is supposed to go. Something like that. Should be pretty good. You can move over to here. You can move over to here. And just to make sure that they don't get any ideas, we're accidentally wandering out of the barrier, you can go like this. Okay, so this should now be a functional exhibit. We can go ahead and unpause on it. We can start to make some of our money back so that we can afford some more things. Not a moment too soon. Is there anywhere in the zoo where we've actually just built a solid fence? I feel like everywhere we could have, we've just used rocks instead. Technically, that's a solid fence, I guess. But yeah, I think everywhere where we have a wall that we don't want to be visible, it's been rock. So, what if for this section of the zoo, we changed that up a bit? I know I'm low on cash, it's okay. We have any challenges we can finish? Earn a yearly profit of 12,000. We'll get that eventually. It's probably not going to happen for a little while. Do Somali Wild S the Wild. That's probably not going to happen for a little while. What I think might look neat is just a way to increase the visual diversity of this section of the zoo is this corrugated metal. I hear an alarm. That would be the alarm. I'm going to let you run around because I don't really have like $1,000. So how did you get out? You can jump. You can jump from your rock. This rock is a problem. We'll just keep sliding it backwards, I guess. I really don't want to give up the rock. I like that they can jump on the rock. How about now? You're looking good now. But the last time I looked at that rock, you were looking good as well. And you still managed to find a way to escape. Go ahead and call a vet and take care of that. I don't want to afford it right now. $1,000 to capture an escaped animal is just more money than we really have. So what I was thinking, while we wait for that situation to resolve itself, is angle snap, first of all. What if we made a wall out of corrugated metal sheets? Just something really simple. Something like this. And then like a painted beam. A beam square painted, if you will. Just wait for our budget to get back. It'll be okay. So like here, we'll lower this a little bit. And then like here. What do we think of that? What do we think of this? No, not duplicate. You can just move it. It has kind of like a rain barrel aesthetic. Oh, you know what? Gus can see over this. It's not tall enough. Yeah, that's not going to work. Well, in that case, we're probably sticking with old reliable rockwork then. Because I think the guests are going to be able to see right over that barrier. And I could make it taller, but I don't want it to look too imposing. I just thought that it might be interesting if we had a custom fence built that wasn't rocks for a change, but turns out rocks never really... Holy cow, we're at minus 8,000. All right, we're going to be waiting a little bit. Then this is probably a good time to do a quick welfare checkup on the zoo in general. Let's see how things are going. Over in Adaxes? Everybody is actually happy for a change. Good. Nobody's stressed out. Scimitar Horned Oryxes. We have a lot of you in here. We probably need to start getting rid of some of them, which will also make us a bit of money. Show me Scimitar Horned Oryx, please. All right, who can we get rid of? We can get rid of a lot of the young ones. We could get rid of this older male. Tahir, are you related to anybody else in there currently? You're related to Ife. So we should get rid of... Oh, and siblings. You aren't related to Cheapo or Chow9. So we should save Cheapo, Chow9, and Ife. And we could get rid of everybody else. I think you have to take them off contraception for this. Like, we're basically just getting rid of the entire generation of Oryxes that they just had. Oh, wait, that leaves us with no male. I guess Mikasa should stay then. So we can quick trade 4 of you. I would love to release to the wild for extra credits, but we need the money. And that frees up a little bit of space for you. Over here with the Sandcats. The Sandcats... Oh. I need to add a male in here. Where are my Sandcats? Specifically, I need a Sandcat that's not related to Melmina. Is that you, Zahir? That's inbreeding. Okay. How about Ali? Ali will work? And only Ali will work. Wait, then where did I find Ali? What the heck? Hold on. Bear mates. Momi, where is Ali? Who are you? Who are you and where are you? Are you in quarantine somewhere? Yes, you're in quarantine. Okay. So you need to come in here. There we go. Okay. The tortoises are fine. They take forever to mature. Yeah, we still have a ton of juveniles in there. Nothing to do about it, and they're a-okay. Fennec foxes get very fussy. We have 3 there. Oh, the Fennec foxes need a lot of work. Okay. Fennec. You are all going to need to get rehomed because you're old. And then we're going to need to find a male Fennec fox somewhere. Ideally for credits, because we probably can't afford one. Yeah, we don't have any in storage. Okay. Show me a male Fennec fox for credits, please. All right. We are going to be rolling only female Fennec foxes for a little while then. And then camels, how are you guys looking? We have quite a few camels in there. Yeah, me too. Dromedary camels. Rishti, are you related to any of these 3 from Frontier Zoo? I think I would actually be looking for a new male dromedary camel. So let's quick trade the 3 of these. And then we'll get some more. Vet research is done. That doesn't make me money, unfortunately. But it is good to know that it's done. Dama gazelles, I don't think we're going to have any new ones. Yeah, they're still chilling. They're not breeding yet. So let's head over to Horn of Africa. Are we looking for hyenas? Hyenas are healthy. We just took care of them last time. They're okay. Caracals are not okay, but we'll be with you shortly. Somali wild ass. There's a lot of you in there. Okay, we could probably get rid of some of those. Yeah, we got a lot of you. Let's get rid of the ones that we got from Frontier Zoo. And then we'll see if we can look to get a new acquisition. That'll leave us with 3 females and a male. So we can get rid of the male, and we can get rid of all of these. And then we'll be looking for a Somali wild ass male. Hey, for conservation credits too. All right, we'll grab you. Stick you into quarantine. And then we'll come check on you in a little bit. Donkeys. How are donkeys looking? Donkeys looking fine. They're actually repopulating right now, I think. And then caracals. What's wrong in here? Because I thought I just took care of you guys. Oh, maybe not. We have 1 female in the trade center, so you can go. You're from Empirical Sahara in the trade center. You can go and you can go. You're injured, so we can't trade you. We weren't fast enough to stop the infighting. We can still get rid of 1, though. Which one was injured? You. So we can quick trade. That, plus getting rid of 1 other one, should take care of the overcrowding. And then we'll just wait for the injury to heal. How are we looking on foxes? Quite a few of them. We could probably get rid of some. I definitely want to save Hazel, and I definitely want to save Anthony. And I would actually not mind if they became breeding partners, because then we might get some cool morphs out of it. So how about we get rid of you and you? And we'll keep the 2 of you on contraceptives. And then Hamadryas baboons. I think should be okay. Because they can have a very large population. We have a couple that are getting old. So we'll rehome. And then we'll also rehome Zubair because he's too old. And then we'll grab Rafiq and we'll actually move him in. So he can be the new alpha. Alright, so that takes care of most of our zoo chores. We do need to keep an eye out for 1 male fennec fox, and it's also rebuilt most of our budget. Our finances are going to be pretty dreadful until some of these loans get paid off. So we're just biding our time a little bit on those. We could actually decrease the amount of time that we're paying down on these as well. Or increase the amount of time that we're paying down on them. Just to cut down the amount that we're losing each year. This budget will stabilize eventually. We know the zoo is extremely profitable when it's up and running. So it's just a little bit of a waiting game. We also, do we have management on for you? We do, okay. Keep an eye out for fennec foxes. As soon as I can afford one of these, I'm going to snap it up. Because I would like to have a breeding pair, because then later we might be able to sell them. You're going to be real quick on pause here. Come on, just a couple more people give some donations. Buy some concessions. I'm tempted to maybe get rid of even more staff. Just really double down on the austerity measures here. We're stable, we're just not making a ton of money because we're mired in debt right now. Oh, hold on. Maybe starting to crawl our way out. Maybe. Okay. We're turning a corner. Just give me one of these guys. Adopt you. And then let's go ahead and send you to a quarantine. Get in there. And then you in here should be out of quarantine at this point. Oh, we have hyenas in quarantine? I think you guys were supposed to come in here, so I'll move you. You're still under quarantine. Let's double check and make sure we actually don't have animals just sitting in quarantine right now that I forgot about. Nobody in there. And there should only be one fennec fox in here. Yeah, off he goes. All right, you are ready. You can come over here. And then we'll just keep an eye on Fazio. Protesters are mad about Adama Gazelle. For what reason? Stressed and trying to hide. Well, go inside your house. I can't help you with that, unfortunately. You just have to choose to go inside. The power lies within you. You did set that up as one-way glass, right? You might want to go and double check. Adax is about to inbreed as well. Maybe I wasn't as careful as I thought. What's going on in the Adax pen? I guess we do that. And then that should be fine. We're also dipping further into the red again. That is true. We'll take a look at the budget in a second and see if we can't figure out what's costing us money, but we might need to cut a little more staff. Fazio, you can head into Fennec Fox. What is costing us money? Loans are costing us 2K, but that doesn't explain all of the lack of profitability. Ongoing expenses. Our staff wages have almost doubled. Our animal food has more than doubled. We need to get rid of even more staff. Are you willing to go down to one vet per... No, because you promoted them. You really don't want to. You spent so much money on their promotions. You want to fire people who are new, but they're the ones who are overworked because they don't have promotions, and you already hired a bunch of them already. Oh, I wish I could just wait this budget crunch out. I mean, like, I could, but I really like the idea of sticking to 1 year per exhibit, and that's going to put a damper on that. You can get rid of one educator in dry savanna trails. They're not all overworked. So that's going to save you 1100. You could get rid of... No, you can't get rid of any mechanics. It's all one per zone. Caretakers don't cost you a ton of money. You're going to have to get rid of a vet. I know you don't want to, but vets are so expensive. Or keepers. You could maybe think about getting rid of keepers. Like here. Even though Megan's been promoted a few times, she had a green workload, so she's got to go. Let's see if that nets you a little bit of money back. Just enough to turn a corner. You're almost done with the 5K loan. Is it gonna rain? We're gonna get rain in a desert biome? Wow. Okay, we might be making it here. Common ostrich research, good. That's just night. That's not necessarily rain. Yeah, rain in the desert. How about that? All right. Where are you all in burrows right now? You're all in burrows right now. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You can handle quite a bit of plant coverage. Your enrichment is good. Your terrain should be good. Although I think you're calculating because you're stuck in your burrow. Guest flow looks like it's okay. This is doing what we expect it to do. This is doing what we expect it to do. God, the elephants are so loud. I wonder, you know what? How much money do we make if we sell an elephant? Are we in that dire of straits? Because we know that they've been breeding a bit. Marjani is pregnant. 6K. It's a lot of money. And we're good on conservation credits, so we could get more. And it cuts down on the number of mouths we have to feed. I think I need to go down to 2 elephants. I think that fixes a lot of problems for us. So with 7K, let's go back into our loans. This one is 10% interest. Let's get that off the books. Just get it done. If we need to, we could take it out again. I don't necessarily know if that's a good idea or not, but that clears our budget space up. And so now we can actually finish this exhibit. For all the complaining that I'm doing about the budget and all the, humming and hawing about it, I've said it a couple times. I think Planet Zoo is a better game when you actually have to interface with the budget mechanic instead of just like sandbox designing whatever you want. It's fun having to make interesting decisions like that. So hopefully you have been entertained by it as well as we struggle to build a zoo that's actually profitable. So angle snap off, random rotation on. I do wish I had a little more money because I would love to make like a stacked rock wall here. Let's see if we can. Maybe 6,300 is enough. So let's sketch out like this. Also, let's keep it running because maybe this weather will pass and then you can actually see what's going on. So we're going to have rock that comes all the way in through here. and then comes over to about here, where it's going to join up with the fence that we made. That should be sufficient to change this over to null barrier. Are they out of their burrows yet? No, you still don't have any porcupines out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab desert rock cladding. We're going to turn random rotation off. I think this is a technique that I saw ZSH use first, and I really liked the way it came out. I'm going to see if I can emulate it a bit. I don't think it's going to be exactly how he did it, but it should be close. So you do this, and then spin this thing around 90 degrees. Move it in a little bit. Slide it over a little bit, change the height. Grab your red desert rock cladding, slide it over a little bit. This one will just flip 180 upside down. Something like that. Slide you over here, flip you 180. Slide you up a little bit over. Back one. Go back to this color of rock. Flip you 180. One of the porcupines is out. I see it. We'll go up like that, and then from here, we'll add some of the taller rocks. Like here. And then like here-ish. Something like that. And then we can get rid of you, we can get rid of you. And then we can take this whole thing, save it as a group, and then we're going to slide it down all the way along here. And we'll do a little bit of elevation change here and there. So it doesn't look like it's all, you know, lined up exactly. You could also check how expensive this thing is. That's only $100. That's so cheap. That's no money at all. So a little something like that. This actually looks way too uniform on top. Probably should have built these as separate rocks. But we can go in and fix that. Get rid of all you, get back into nature. I don't think I need one that big. Random rotation. How about we stick you all the way at the end as like an end cap here? Oh, this is the way. Because now I can have some of these rocks kind of interrupt the flow of the striated levels. Yeah. I like what's happening here. It just breaks it up a little bit. And then we'll bring you all the way over so that you join up at the fence. And then give me a few small pieces of rock. And they're going to jut out like it's filling in some of these gaps. There's a little gap over here that could use some fill. Get one in there, one down here. So is it rock wall again? Yeah, it's rock wall again. But it's a different kind of rock wall than we have in other parts of the zoo. And maybe that's good enough. It also looks a little claustrophobic when we said that we were going to keep this section of the zoo pretty light and airy and open feeling. But at the same time, this is kind of your lead-in into the dry Sahara trails. And so as you come around this corner, we can play around with this fence too, but you just gradually see the zoo start to open up and become more spacious. And I think that'll become more clear as we work through some of the other sections of the zoo. So on this corner, we'll just keep these rocks going a little higher. And we'll get a nice join with that fence post. Can clean that up later. On the inside, we can use some of these flatter ones to smooth out the joins on the back. Although I'd really like... Yeah, I think I can work with something like that. The big flat rock is just a little too big for my liking. We'll bring you up a bit so you cover up the red rock. And just use this to smooth out some of these rough shapes. And then, now that you've gotten some space away from the main wall, you can get some of these guys in to finish up the rest. Make this look a little more organic. So now when you're looking in from this side, it doesn't look all that abnormal in that corner. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at how your space requirements are going. You're at 784 or 475. We can start to kick in on terrain. Show me grassland, Africa. Take me to plants. Along the back, I want lots of tall grasses. I think some elephant grass strips. Can I get a 4-meter strip? I can. Some elephant grass in the back here that works to hide the fences, I think is going to go very well. We're not going to use it everywhere, but this is just a really nice little grassy piece of terrain. So we'll do some here. I think we'll make this corner very grassy. And then we can put a tree in there as well. We do want sight lines that go all the way through the fence so you can just barely see the river poking through. So we'll leave some parts of it barren. Something like that is probably a good start in terms of grasses. That uses up a ton of your foliage tolerance, but that's okay. And then what kind of trees are we using over here? You're a Mapingo, if I remember correctly. Yeah, you're a Mapingo, and then inside the actual Inside the actual exhibit, you're only using desert trees. But that's for the Dama gazelles, which are pretty desert oriented. I think the smallest Mapingo would look nice back here. In the little corner. And then if you could show me drin grass. Just to occupy some of the space in the front. Good. What other big trees you got for me? Nothing that's too big. Fever tree, too big. Baobab, too big. Show me something in like the $40 to $60 range. A fig tree? A fig tree looks very nice. It's a very nice leafy boy. Let's stick a fig tree right in here. And then we'll put a little more drin around the front of you. I also like your pumpkin ball being there. That's a nice little spot for an interaction item. Can come over and visit by that tree. We can move one of the burrows way back here, and I think it'll look quite nice. Something like that. And then if you show me rocks. Probably use smaller rocks than that. You can sort of build it so it looks like it isn't just a burrow in the middle of nowhere. And then we'll check and make sure that this is still traversable, obviously. I wonder if I can change the color on a burrow. No. Dreadful. In that case, let's find like a plant or two that we can put on top of it to kind of hide the seam a bit. Hawthorn is a little too much. Dog rose is a little too much. Dringrass is not quite enough. Pincushion is a little too much. You could maybe go like papyrus edge on that. A little bit. I'm not sold. I'm not sold on that being correct. That looks pretty tasteful, though. I do think you want a little bit of grass in front of it, too. All right, how are you guys looking for plant tolerance on that? Because we've added a lot of plants. We're doing great. Perfect. Over here along this, I think we would have quite a bit of plant growth. Big tree 3, little big. Wild hedgerow, a little too generic. Marula tree, kind of nice. But maybe we should keep working along the back first. This feels like the start of something good. Get you a little closer to where guests can see you use this. Move this over a bit, move this over a bit. We're going to want quite a lot of plant growth around you. Lepopine way too big. Marula tree we already know is too big. What if we just sink a hedgerow? Hedge. Nah, not really. I'm not loving it. Brillithorn sapling, a little too wiry. We can't use any more elephant grass. It's going to destroy their tolerance for stuff. We might just go with classic quiver trees in here. So we'll get like a nice quiver tree here. A little bit of drin grass. And then do we have any kind of like bush that we can use? Big tree too big. Blackthorn bush? Too big. River bush mallow? Too big and also too red. Candelabra? Nettles? Maybe. Or maybe one rock as a centerpiece. Because if we have a rock, we can put some plants around the rock. Now we can go nettle. Drin grass. And then we can also get a little bit of elevation going on in the middle of the exhibit here. Move the melon feeder out of the way, get this burrow out of the way. Really, we probably don't even need 2 burrows if we're being honest. But just move some of this stuff around. Then grab our terrain, turn my intensity down a little bit. Pull my size down a little bit. Take me up to about there. And then just flatten a little bit and then smooth around the outside. And then grab some more rocks and just have them run down the middle. So there's like a little spine running down the middle of the habitat. Stop aligning to surface. There we go. Much more sane. And then a little bit like here. Like here. And then just a little bit of variation on these edges here. So now you look at it from here, you got a little visual interest, you got visual interest from here. And then we can fill in some of the slope with drin grass. Or, you know what, maybe, what's the flower? These guys. I could maybe get a little red poppy in here. They don't terrain conform very well. Maybe you don't. Maybe you get nitraria in here. Maybe it's time for my best friend. Because it just conforms to terrain so well. And then you can get some nitraria along the back here. But also along the back, I think you do have a flower opportunity. It's not really going to be visible from basically any angle, so maybe you don't. Maybe instead you just want to work on this corner up here. Go pincushion poppy. You go drin grass. And then how are you feeling about that? I think you've got something going on there. You could move this burrow around. Almost like tuck it into the rock, maybe. But it really wants to follow terrain. Now, you could get it to work about here. It's going to deform the terrain a little bit, but that's... no, maybe you can get it flatter. Can you use the path trick for burrows? Let's find out. You can. Oh, that rocks. It's so good. So let's get this Nitraria bush out of here. You can come sit up here. Get this nettle out of here. You can come sit like up here. And then we'll just extend a little bit of this rock out so it looks like the burrow is part of the rock. Something like this. And then you want like the smallest rock you can find for the part that's up close, because you don't want it to interfere with their pathing. Something like that. So let's see if they can still path the stuff in here. Can you still reach your shelter? You can. It doesn't really look like it, but apparently you can. You can't climb on that rock, but that's fine. Your plant coverage is almost at maximum, so we can't really do a whole lot about that. Savannah elephant's done. Well, not done, but we finished another level. We'll move the food dish back here. People don't need to see the porcupines eating. I'd like it to be closer to the keepers, so their trip is shorter. Your water, we could move over here. This can be your little watering hole over there. And then your enrichment items will just get spread out a bit. You can have this ball that you can play with in that little meadow, because it's a nice flower ball. You can have this ball that you can play with outside your burrow. Your melon feeder you can have over here. And then your scent markers. Your scent markers we just want to put in places that we would like to see you go and inspect. So maybe one up there. I don't like how open this is in the front, but I guess it is good for just like a viewing gallery. I think something like that feels pretty solid, I think. We're a little constrained on how much we can do in the front, just by virtue of not really having a ton of money. But that's the way that things go sometimes, especially in the case of the zoo, where we are deep in debt, and we have been very deep in debt for a very long time. So I might do a little bit more off camera. I need to move these boards around, and I also want to put in the same style of fence that we have around here, that we do over by the Dama Gazelle habitat. Fill out the front of it a little bit so that it just looks a little more green, like there's a standoff area there. But in general, and obviously we need to like clean this up with some detailing and stuff, but in general, that's going to be the African porcupine habitat. Uh, Came out a little more expensive than I would have preferred, but I think that's just life in the zoo. On the bright side, we are profitable. I was going to say we'll be able to pay some of these loans down pretty soon, but we're slowly turning a profit. Some of the staff firings, unfortunately, are going to help, and as we improve our research and as we improve some other parts of the zoo, we will probably be able to bring some of those workers back in. But for now, we need to do what we can to turn a profit because we took out a lot of loans to open this section of the zoo. So, if you are interested in seeing our further adventures in balancing the budget and getting this place to turn a profit while being a functional zoo, do make sure that you subscribe to the channel and you like the video. It'll let me know that you're having fun with the series and you're looking forward to seeing more. If you have any suggestions for how we might be able to better balance our budget or any general comments about how the zoo is going overall, also feel free to leave a comment. I do read those and will pretty occasionally use the feedback that I get in them in improving the zoo. But until then, I will see you next time when we're probably going to take on this ostrich exhibit. I'm a little scared of the fact that it's going to involve this building and then also we're going to have to detail the back of the Egyptian fruit bats, but I think that's going to be the last affordable exhibit that we have to work on until we need to tackle the African wild dogs and then eventually the elephants, which are going to cost a fortune. And so we may even take an episode off in the middle to work on like random detailing around the river or some other small projects in the zoo while we wait for our finances to rebuild. That African elephant enclosure is going to be very, very expensive to work on. But until then, I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Have a good rest of your night.